Okay, hey, welcome to another episode of On the Wrist from Off the Cuff. Today we have a fun review for you from the brand D1 Milano. They were founded back in 2013 out of Milan, Italy, and currently they have offices in Dubai and Hong Kong and are distributed in 28 countries in hundreds of stores. There's definitely a clear Gérald Genta steel sports-inspired design aesthetic without it being a direct homage to any specific model reference, which I can dig. Now, in terms of them mixing up, I'd say their formula a bit. I think they have with this release. This is actually kind of their take on a dive watch. So some key common characteristics and design language when you're looking for a dive watch. Of course, you're going to want something that's water resistant. Typically, there's some type of screw down crown. You're going to want something that's tough, legible with a dive time bezel, and diver's extension is always nice if on bracelets. This is their Subacqueo. I'm sure that I'm not pronouncing that correctly. Subacqueo? I don't know. Subacqueo. I'm sure that it's with an Italian accent. That sounds amazing. But it's basically the D1 Milano brand's take on a kind of classic dive watch, you know, with that internal rotating bezel, very reminiscent of the compressor styles. Now, in terms of the price on this one, this is not going to be super affordable at $565 direct, but I do think you are getting some really interesting features and super solid build quality on this one, so I am looking forward to sharing it with you. This was sent over by D1 Milano. They have a couple of different color options. I figured this one would be the most fun because it's just kind of the most vibrant and lively and really plays on the kind of summertime fun traveling sports watch kind of vibe. So I dig that. But if this isn't your jam, there's definitely, more sedate color palettes out there. The all black looks actually very clean as well. So let's go ahead, zoom the camera out, get this piece in hand, and take a closer look. All right, so let's check this thing out. Very handsome. You can see that there's some really cool color play going on with the different blues there, the little red accents. Of course, in terms of legibility, that's going to be a little tough, especially in the water, because red is one of kind of the first colors to get a bit washed out. But again, I did decide to choose this one to review because I think ultimately it has the most personality, and it really stands out as something on its own, and it doesn't, it reads the furthest from an homage in terms of any of the other looks, because the color palette does add a lot of play, although I think the design itself is also quite original looking. Now, in terms of the dimensions here, you're getting a 43.5 millimeter diameter with a 14.2 millimeter thickness and a 52 millimeter lug to lug. Of course, this is full stainless steel and a brushed and high polished finish there. You can see those high polished bevels, really well done, well executed, quite sharply. And again, I think that's where your money's going on here. It's going to be in getting this really, really solid, clean case finishing and execution from that standpoint. The integrated rubber strap is very well done and really tight tolerances. Again, really just paying a tribute to the quality of the execution on here. Now, some of the details, as you look at it, you get that vertical brushing on the bezel there, and then of course, ooh, man, that high polished bevel is just gorgeous. The inner rotating crown bezel is run by this crown over here by the 10 o'clock, and pretty interesting setup to have a crown at 4 and at 10. I think typically you'll see these kind of all on the same side, but I think it is an interesting twist, again, to kind of create that visual play and a little bit of extra symmetry by having it across. So very cool, again, doing things a bit different, but still recognizable as a dive watch, which I can appreciate. Now, inside, in terms of the movement, although you can't see it, it will probably be the largest point of contention here. This is a Seiko Instruments NH35 movement, which is a great movement. You can't see it, of course, but you can see some of the nice details on this strap, as well as the nice etching there on the case back. Let me give it a quick wipe. But just so you guys can get an idea, very nicely finished again. But, you know, a lot of people do tend to find the movement, you know, the NH35 to be something that, you know, should be in cheaper watches. And this is not. I mean, it's obviously not super expensive at $565, but, you know, once you get above $400 or $500, I think people are just going to, you know, be less than thrilled to have an NH35. Me, I don't mind so much, honestly. The NH35 is a great movement. It'd be nice if they used an NE15 if they were going to go the Seiko route, just because that's more competitive, I would say, and does even have advantages over like a 9 series Miyota movement. But you know, it's the choice that was made. I mean, they even have this movement and variations of the Seiko NH movement inside some of their more dressy watches. So it's really, if anything, it probably suits this watch more than some of the dressier watches. So can't be too upset there, but, you know, I think in terms of the pricing, the price bracket, and that movement choice, it is going to make a bit sticky for some, you know, for some potential customers out there. But again, I'm just happy that it has hacking hand winding and they didn't use a Miyota 8000 series movement. So I'm always somebody that's pretty easy to please from that standpoint. Now, in terms of the dial details, there's some really cool ones here, guys. You get these really nice raised indices there, as you can see. And they're just like super well. Oh, actually, let me see. There's a little bit of lint there. Sorry about that. They're just almost like three-dimensional, which is, I think, really cool. Also, the date wheel, you can see, although the date window is at the 4 o'clock, it's you know, it's nicely kind of blended because you do get that black date disc with the white font, which is nice. You get the Super Luminova on here. It's going to glow green. I don't know exactly what the compound is that they're using. This does have 30 atmospheres of water resistance, or 300 meters. You do get these integrated lugs and this nice silicone dive strap, which is quite handsome. It tapers from about 28.3 down to about 17.6. You do have to do some trimming to get it to fit. So you're going to see here, there's a couple extra ribs. Basically, you cut along each line and you kind of set it up. All I did was cut off some on this end, and then basically, you know, everything else worked out pretty nicely. I was able to just kind of move it on the micro adjust side. Pretty standard clasp. I mean, it would be nice to see something milled. It's nice that they do have the milled folding section here, but in terms of the clasp itself, I think it would probably suit the watch a little bit more to have something else milled, a little chunkier, to just kind of suit the aesthetic of the watch head itself. But, you know, let's go ahead and get this piece on wrist and see how it wears. All right, guys, so as you can see, big, bold diver. The square case definitely gives it quite a look. Man, look at the way the light plays off of that very, very clean and uniform brushing there. It's a looker, and definitely, again, guys, this has great summertime, fun travel vibe to it, and I really, really enjoy that. I mean, it's a watch that I could easily see. You know, it is, I don't know if we can call D1 Milano really a micro brand, because they are carried through a lot of retail chains and everything like that, but I mean, it's definitely within that niche where if you're a person who has a collection of dive watches, and typically from what I've seen is a lot of guys that have like 10, 12, 20 plus divers that do collect a lot within kind of the micro brand realm will have a lot of kind of larger chunky dive watches, and they'll have just some really fun variations and colors. And this is something where I think this piece, although I'd say it's more positioned kind of more to be on the fashionable side of things in terms of you know, independent watches, I think it also fits that really cool tool aesthetic. And that's, there's probably a ton of people that are looking at this watch that would love to own it and buy it. And hopefully it kind of aligns with their budget. So I mean, it's obviously not going to be for everybody. There's a huge market, very, very competitive within this space, within that $500, $600 diver space. But I will say that the fit and finish make a case for this piece. I mean, there's going to be people, of course, that are going to complain about the movement choice and saying that, that somehow should automatically make this, $350 watch. But, in all reality, how many $350 watches have a case with this level of fit and finish there? I mean, my goodness, it's really handsomely executed. And as although it is bulky and chunky and all that, it still wears really well. It's quite ergonomic. It wraps around the wrist, lays relatively flat considering the size of the piece. I mean, it's just really a nice wearing piece here. So let's go ahead, get this piece off the wrist and set up some low light transition, Lume shots, and closing thoughts. All right, we'll go ahead and hit the lights here. As you can see, the Lume is quite strong, but one drawback is that that inner rotating bezel is not going to have any Lume on it, so that's a total bummer. But at the end of the day, how many people who actually go diving, would dive with something like this? At least, I can't think of too many. The good thing is this would be totally fine, again, for that fun kind of summer water sports vibe. You'd be absolutely fine to take this with you out on the lake, the lagoon, or into the ocean. I just wouldn't go too deep because you don't really have, of course, the timing bezel function once you get darker and out of kind of the sun-kissed levels of the the more shallow waters there. But you can see, very handsome. One of the things we like to do, of course, within this low light transition is kind of highlight how this watch is going to render in multiple lighting situations, because you're not always going to be out in the middle of a field enjoying direct sunlight. A lot of times you're going to be coming out in and out of buildings, walking underneath an overhang, spending some time in your favorite vehicle, or maybe just walking underneath the shade of a tree. So it's nice to see how things are going to kind of render in less than optimal lighting, as well as some harsh lighting situations here. You can see typically will expose any type of imperfections, and you can see that the brushing on that bezel still quite clean, still quite uniform. Everything glides. The polishing still rendering very, very nice there. There's probably just some oil from my fingers there touching it inside of the review, but overall still quite nice. But you can see that it's not some crazy luxury level. This isn't some 3,000 plus dollar watch or comparable to that. It's definitely something that it's right there in that sweet spot, I consider, where it's just fun. You're not going to have worry about it too much, and you can actually go enjoy this watch, which I think adds value from that standpoint. Now, closing thoughts, guys. On the wrist, it definitely wears like a big, bold diver should. Really, really great wrist presence, which I enjoyed. Again, really gives off kind of a fun summertime vibe, which I also enjoy. In terms of model variants, definitely check the links for availability, but they do have a couple of different colors. This is going to be like your kind of most out there color play model, but I enjoy the color play that they used here. Again, I think it really adds to kind of the fashionability, more feeling like in a really kind of handsome accessory versus a dedicated tool. I think it fits that kind of idea a little bit better. But if you did want to go with something that was a little bit more toolish, you can get some, a little bit more monochromatic options available as well. Now, in terms of comparable models, guys, yeah, it's tough. It's tough to find a direct comparable because I think you can probably compare a lot of different watches to this watch, but they'd be more based on price point and not necessarily on kind of the total package, because this is definitely a much different watch than a lot of them that are out there. I don't think this is going to be anybody's singular one dive watch or one sports watch. I think if you have a collection, this is a fun kind of wild card, borderline wild card watch that you can have a lot of fun with and enjoy, that suits a lot of different occasions, has a fun style. And yeah, I mean, it's definitely an enthusiast watch. It's not something you're just going to see on somebody's wrist by accident. If they got this watch, chances are they are into watches, into dive watches, you know, into the Gérald Genta space. So, and yeah, maybe they, maybe you don't have the funds to drop, you know, 5 figures on you know, on an actual Gérald Genta design. So this is something that you can wear every day that has the water resistance and a very reliable movement inside, and a very comfortable and well thought out you know, aesthetic, and as well as the actual ergonomics from that standpoint. It's a great wear. So yeah, I think this is a cool one, guys. Bottom line here, it's a big chunky diver with a whole lot of style. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you like the video, please do hit like, and if you haven't already, please do subscribe for more content just like this. Thanks, guys.